I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is All The Mons. Now, here at Rocket Labs, much like you are probably doing, we are on the hunt for shinies. And so far, most of the shinies that we have gotten have come from just random spawns. But today I'm thinking about taking that up a notch, especially since a new block was added recently. And this new block is pretty cool, as you can place a Pokeball directly on top of the incubator, and you can also hopper in eggs to the incubator. And the Mon will automatically go into your PC. Well, it'll go into the PC for the person who placed the incubator, that is. Now, as a member of Team Rocket, I have been tasked with sniffing through some jar files, diving into some classes, and turns out there's some really interesting information buried inside of the All The Mons core mod. Well, the mod that allows us to have eggs in the first place, and also adds this incubator. See, this mod is actually responsible for allowing our pasture block here from Cobblemon to make eggs. And the way that we make eggs, for example, is we take two Mons of differing genders and we make sure they are also in the same egg group, and we send them out using the pasture block, and they should be able to breed. Or if instead of an egg group, you could just use a Ditto, and you use a Ditto with any Mon, for example, this Eevee here. And so you notice immediately an egg was produced, but there is actually an egg cooldown, and turns out that the more Mons that you have out that are a part of that egg group, the faster the division is on the cooldown of the breeding timer. Now, by default, this right here, this normal Ditto here, and this normal Eevee that's not holding any items or anything special like that, produces a regular egg. And we can take a deep dive into this egg's data by taking an item pipe, for example, and putting an advanced pipe upgrade in here and dropping the item in here. And we can see all of the MBT data that is associated with this. This is just an easy way if you're playing on a server, for example. And we'll notice right here, you see shiny modifier 1. This number is actually kind of important, but some other interesting information that you'll see in here is all of the EVs and IVs and everything that is already predetermined. The only thing that's not really predetermined is the shiny value. So we do not actually know if this Mon is shiny. However, it does have a modifier of 1, which means this is going to be divided by the shiny chance. Unfortunately, this means that by default, with these two breeding, that we are looking at a value of like 1 in 8,000 chance, give or take. And with a breeding cooldown, that's just not super practical. But we now have the ability to put link cables on our Ditto to simulate the Masudo method. And if you're unfamiliar with this, it's where you would have a foreign Ditto that was traded to you from another region, typically, like another part of the world, for example. And that Ditto would increase your shiny chance when breeding in the games. Well, if we give this Ditto here a link cable, it does increase the shiny chance. So before, by default, this was a shiny of 1. But after this, I do have an egg in here that was done with this method. If we place this egg inside of this filter, we will see a little bit of a different change. So if we go over here to the shiny modifier, you will see that the shiny modifier is now 6. So that means that the base value will then be divided by 6. Now, if we take a look at our Cobblemon config, this is going to be kind of important. If we scroll down, we will be able to see what our base shiny chance is. And so our shiny rate is 8,192. And with that new shiny modifier being divided by 6, we're looking at a rate of about 1,365 or 64, give or take. So if we can speed up the rate at which these guys breed, that would make for a really fast and possibly viable method for farming shinies. That combined with the new incubator allowing us to automatically catch all of the Mons that are produced from eggs, and this also rolling that shiny much like it would as if it spawned in the world, this allows us to technically automate shiny hunting. Now keep in mind that All The Mons is in beta and shiny rates may change in the future, who knows? And also several other things may change in the future, like potential mods that exist that are client-side. Speaking of client-side mods, if you're going to be doing this, I highly recommend this next mod. I haven't really added many mods, but this mod I think is 100% necessary, because if we're going to be doing this method, we are going to need a way to quickly select multiple mons out of a box and release them. And that's because if we're going to be producing a bunch of mons and they're going to be filling up our box, I mean, our box only has 40 boxes in it. And yeah, our PC only has 40 boxes in it, which means we only can store a maximum of like 1,440 mons. And with a shiny rate of roughly 1 in every 1,400, I mean, that's basically filling an entire PC just for the chance of getting a singular shiny. And so the mod that I am recommending here is more Cobblemon tweaks, which does a couple of different things, and I do recommend going into config and probably turning off the lore enhancement, as you really don't need that. All we're really wanting is the PC enhancements, including IV display, colored IVs, multi-selection, which is going to be very important, and a PC box view, allowing us to just navigate our PC so much easier, as we can click the box list, immediately switch to one of all of our boxes here. And we can also multi-select, which is another really, really powerful tool. For example, I can select all of this and I can hold down Shift, and now all of these are currently selected. This is very, very powerful, allowing us to rearrange, do all kinds of different stuff if we really want to, including also releasing. So I think it's time to set up these farms, and I think what I'm going to do is potentially have like 6 individual farms up and running, and so we'll have 6 breeding farms at a time that should be producing stuff. But this also means we have to set up automation for all of these things to work. So I was thinking an expansion onto the back here would be a good idea. And so we make this an open research lab sort of room. And then we also have some smaller rooms into the side of that, which are going to allow us to set up something similar to what we have here. I've started to work out most of the planning for the area over here, so the expanse has now happened. And if you want some cool measurements, by the way, I'll go ahead and give you those. So this is going out 25 blocks in the center, but all the way out to 29 blocks, which is actually the same distance between this point and this point here for the hallways, because I wanted to make sure that there was enough room for me to have 6 different Pokemon actively working at one time. Big issue though for this area, I need some lighting. So what I'm working on right now is getting some lights in, and I kind of have an idea that I'm going to use some chains here like this, and then I'm going to have an illuminated panel that stretches from here to here. And an easy way to do this, if you do have this selected, is you can just connect them after you've placed them in, and then you will have this nice seamless light panel. I think though the chain probably needs to be like 1 more down. As for each of these rooms, we want to keep them fairly simple, and I think just having a grass floor is going to be what we need. These are 7x7s, and that should be plenty of space, and we want to make sure to utilize this space and make sure it's as flat as possible to make sure we limit where the eggs can actually spawn in these farms. Now in each of these rooms, I did put a nice warm lamp that should be able to set the mood to make sure we get as many Pokemon as possible breeding up inside of each of these chambers. But in order for this farm to work, we are going to need to set up some connectivity to our applied energistic system. So I'm kind of now lining out where my cables are going to run. Now that I got the cables lined up, this is going to give us connectivity to our storage system, which we're going to be able to use to be able to handle the sending of our eggs. For the setup process for all of this, we have our little 7x7 area, which is more than enough. And then our pasture block is actually 1 block away, so that way the containing area will have a fence, just to make sure that the Cobblemon don't try to get out or anything like that. Because unfortunately they can jump up on the pasture blocks. Otherwise, I would really love to have the fence connected to it. So now let's say we have our Mons out, they're doing their thing, and yeah, they're out here doing the things that they need to get done. Well, now we need to collect the eggs once those eggs are generated. So to be able to do this, we will use an advanced block breaker, and this is where I am going to define our range. So we'll raise this up and we'll start to move this back. And I recommend trying to get your camera in a position that makes it easy to see where things are going. But then we'll just put this into the center of the room, and we just want to make sure that we scale up the area that it's trying to break in. And perfect. This right here should cover the entire area, and we shouldn't have to set any filters or anything, because the only thing that it should be able to break is anything that just enters this area, which would be an egg. And once you get one of these defined, we can make a machine setting copiers from Just Dire Things and shift right click to copy the settings. And then it should be as easy as pasting those settings into another machine right next to it, just like that. Now for this, I think placing a gate on the bottom is going to be a good play here. So I'm just going to place a gate on the bottom of each of these because they do require power. And then as far as the tool they're going to be using, just an All The Mons pickaxe because it's unbreakable. Now, once this is broken, we also want to do the same thing here. I'm actually going to use an interface, and then the item collector is going to go on top of the interface. And I just need to define it in a similar area. However, I want it to make sure it can encompass the fence, just in case it gets broken and the item happens to fling right over here and it needs to be able to pick up within this bounds. With the item collector set up, it should look something like this. And again, you can copy and paste these settings and they should carry over. Something I will note here, for all of these, we don't really have to worry about the speed. This is not going to be a very fast process. So I don't even need to worry about changing this tick speed. I think it trying to operate just once every second is a good idea. So you know what? Let's go ahead and drop into our box here and let's go ahead and test this out. So I do have a Ditto with a link cable, and I think what would be a good idea is to technically have 6 individual Dittos. And at the moment I only have 1. So we may have to go out and hunt for some Dittos. But I believe that if you give link cables to, let's say, like all of the males, for example, in the cell, then that should also function. But it is going to take, like I said, a little bit longer to sort of build up the amount of Mons that are in here. And the more Mons you have out of the pasture block, the faster it will produce eggs, because it is based off of the total amount of Mons that are actively out, and not exactly the particular Mons cooldown timer. So it's all kind of based upon the pasture block itself. But with them out like this, let's go ahead and let's send out Eevee, because I think having Eevees, shiny Eevees, is going to be definitely worthwhile. And eventually they should produce an egg. And at the moment, I don't have any eggs in my storage, so we should see one pop in as soon as that operation happens. And it took no time at all, and there we go. We now have a Pokemon egg inside of our Applied Energistics system. Now for the egg processing, and I think this is probably the hardest part. And keep in mind, if you are playing on a server, whoever places the incubator down is the player that the actual Mons are going to go into, or the PC that they're going to go into. So what I'm thinking is we do this in like sets of 8, where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. And we can start off with this amount. If we need to add more, you know what, I'll go ahead and I'll make sure that there is enough room to add multiple layers. But the idea is that we can potentially use modular routers here to handle the sending of the balls and also the sending of everything else. So you know what, 2 sets like this is probably going to be more than enough. Now the way I'm thinking about handling this is by having the actual egg pop out of here and get sent through the interface. But I think this is where we are going to need a fuzzy card, so that way it doesn't look at things like hatch time. Otherwise, we may have to figure out another solution to this and not use AE. I'm hoping that by putting this in here, we can tell it, hey, pull any type of egg. Because right now it is definitely looking at that data. The reason I know this is because just by having it in my inventory for those few seconds, the hatch timer has changed. And so this is no longer recognizing that this exists. But I'm thinking something like a fuzzy card should be able to allow this to happen. Aha, and it does. Thing is though, I'm hoping that it also completely bypasses the species, because that's another thing that it is also showing here. Now, setup for the incubator should be pretty straightforward and simple. What we're going to do is we are going to pull from one side of our interface, which is going to have the eggs and the Pokeballs, and we're going to find one as our Pokeball handler. So in this case, this one is set to whitelist and is only going to pull Pokeballs into the system. Just to make sure, we have Pokeballs in here, and then the modular router should be set to pull from the right. Once that is set, you can see Pokeballs are now going in here. On this side, however, we want this to be set to blacklist Pokeballs. This is going to make it easier so we don't have to filter every particular type of egg. It should just pull anything that's not a Pokeball, and it should pull it in just like this. After getting that set up, we then need to carry the items out. And so this is where we're going to use distributor modules, and we can actually put multiple distributor modules per router. So that'll encompass all of this because these do have a limit of 8 things they can connect to. We want to make sure this is transfer out of router, and I'm going to start with the eggs first. We're going to say, hey, send the eggs into all of these. And so with it set to round robin, which is perfectly fine, I'm going to start saying set to the side. And this will be my first set. And then over here, we'll do the exact same thing. We'll say, hey, set all 8 of these. And then on our egg one, we'll just simply put both of these in, and notice the eggs get sent there. Same setup for the Pokeballs. However, the Pokeballs need to be set to the top, I do believe. So try to make sure to click on the top, as that is where you would normally place these in. And the top is where we're going to receive those Pokeballs. And something nice that you can do for each of these, you can see they are set to the top. You can actually limit them so you're not putting an entire stack in each of them. So if you want to limit them, I recommend putting a regulator augment inside and then just setting each of them to 1. And this will make sure that it only keeps 1 Pokeball in at a time, making sure if you have limited supply, it's distributing them evenly, a little bit more evenly than normal. And so we'll place those in, and look at that. All of the balls are now going in as they should. Now, ultimately, something that I'm going to figure out today is if just having 1 Ditto is going to be fine. Now, I would assume if we do have 1 Ditto, to make sure that they are always breeding with the Ditto, we want to make sure that we stick to a particular gender. So, for example, if we have this male Eevee out, we do not want any female Eevees in here, because that means that those 2 Eevees could potentially breed, and we would actually lose out on that Masudo method. So now I just got 2 more Eevees. They are both male, and yeah, I can just go ahead and send all of the male Eevees out that we end up getting. Now, I know at the moment you may be wondering, how am I going to automate Pokeballs? Well, I don't want to kind of spam up my current system, which I am using for making like Master Balls and things like that upon demand. And so what we could do is instead utilize the villagers. And so if we set up an auto apricorn farm for like, let's say red apricorns, by doing something like this, for example, we have the apricorn here and we can just have this click the apricorns. We can create ourselves a barrel and put a collector upgrade inside and make sure the upgrade is pulling from the upside. By putting this in here, what we should do is it should automatically collect these resources. We may have to put some trapdoors on here, however. So hopefully something like this should work. That'll keep those nice and confined in here, and they're going to start building up. And then we can make sure to keep a void upgrade inside. So by placing in our PC and then using our villager, which has a trade for apricorns to Poke tokens, we should be able to automate the production of Poke tokens this way. Let's say, for example, I pull all of these out. We make sure that its buffer is filled up on its input here. And then what we can do is we can use a pusher upgrade to push to the down, I believe is what we want on here. So push to the down. And if we put that inside, that is going to start taking what it can and pushing it into this inventory. Now, this is only going to trade so much, so we just want to make sure that we have it automated. And to do that, we can set this to pull the coins into this container. And so we'll have this pull from the upside. And by doing that, look at that, we now have the coins going in. Yeah, and you know what? The longer that I had this running, I think it is a better idea to probably not use the collector upgrade in this, because it's just still spitting items everywhere, even with the trapdoors, and we can avoid that by using an item collector. Now, something I want to mention, red apricorn here are used on purpose, because this is how we can actually get Pokeballs, and you can keep rolling this trade until you get this one. So let's go ahead and now automate Pokeballs with villagers, by the way. By the way, these are also auto traders. So we'll select what we want. So this is going to be sending Poke tokens and then apricorns, which we all have right here. And so we just need to add this to our mass network that we currently have in our base. We just simply right click these to add them. So the drawers are now linked. And now we should see like all of the, let's say apricorns are now all stored up. There we go. Making sure these drawers are locked, I then want to utilize something that's kind of new to me, a stock export bus. Because this is a trade that requires Poke tokens and apricorns, I kind of want to limit Poke tokens and apricorns. And so we'll send Poke tokens here, and then I'll also send apricorns, but if we middle mouse click, we should be able to say how many we want to keep in this particular inventory. And so in this case, it should only keep a stack of Poke tokens in here and a stack of apricorns in here, and nothing else should fill up. That's the idea behind the Advanced AE stock bus. So this is just going to start filling up until it reaches that value, and then it should split around. Now we can also do export in round robin mode, which I do recommend doing. That way it'll make sure to send both of them in. And notice it's doing the thing. Now I just want to make sure that it doesn't send too many. Anyways, there's the Pokeballs. So we'll set a puller card to pull down, or pull from the top. So pull from the up here. Place that in, and that should start putting Pokeballs inside of the drawer. And just like all of our other drawers, we can lock this, and then we can assign this to the network, so that way our network pulls Pokeballs from here and keeps these in stock. That's exactly what we want. So now this is working, and I am noticing that it is going faster, which is as the code basically said. The more breeding pairs that we have available for it to breed with, the faster it will go. And in this instance, we have our Ditto, and we're sticking with a particular gender, meaning that it's only ever going to breed with the Ditto, and that means the breeding timer is going to be a whole lot faster. And each of them are going to be utilizing that Masudo method, because this Ditto over here is really hard at work. I don't even have the pasture block filled up, and already I can see how quickly we are generating eggs now. And I don't know if this is the case, but because all of them are male, all of them that I have gotten have been male. I don't know if this is coincidence, but it does make this process way easier that way. And now I did want to take a quick test sample just to make sure that this is holding on to its data correctly. So this is an egg that just popped out of here. So if we add to the filter, we can go ahead and scroll over through the MBT data of this item. And yes, the shiny modifier is 6. Which should mean that it is working. We can also take another sample here, and we can test this one out just to make sure. We scroll on over, and shiny modifier is 6. So this didn't take very long at all, and already I am now maxed out. So we have our single Ditto out that is holding the link cable, and all 16 are now out, and they are all male. And just look at the eggs already backing up. And so I think that we will definitely need to scale up the amount, especially if we have all 6 of these doing different Pokemon. I've now expanded upon all of the incubators, and they are all running and still running off of these 2 right here, which is really, really nice. So I just added some more of the distributor cards, and we still have room for technically even more. So 16 more we can fit with just 2 of these modular routers. And I think that is fantastic. I don't know if we're going to need it, but we'll see. As of right now, we are simply blazing through all of the EVs. And this is where I want to mention why we added that extra mod. So if we go into box 7 here in a normal PC, we want to multi-select because none of these are shiny, for example. And so with this multi-selected, I can then release them all in one go. And that saves so much time. And you're going to have to keep up with this because it is going to be a mess otherwise, because remember, these are just going to be automated. And just think, you have an entire box filled with a bunch of random things that you're generating. You're going to want to make sure that you can get that out. So yeah, you're probably going to want that client-side mod. So with all of this done, I am now tasked with finding a few more Ditto. And this is not an easy task. Now, one way that we could potentially find Ditto is by finding ourselves a woodland mansion. And woodland mansions have a higher chance of spawning Ditto because they are considered an uncommon spawn. But I mean, finding a mansion is not the easiest task sometimes. For example, like my structure compass, no matter where I've put myself, has not been able to find it. But there is another way that we can search for it, and that's by using our trusty ritual brazier and using the tablet of locate structure. So if we drop this in and we give a brown mushroom and a red mushroom and we activate it, it's going to take a hot minute as it searches a defined range and then spits out a compass with one potentially defined in it. 22,000 blocks in this direction. Yeah. So I guess here I am utilizing my TP spell to teleport over here incredibly fast. Just in case you were wondering, yes, it is self blink, looking in the direction I want to blink to, and then just maxing out amplify. Yep, I'll get there eventually. On my way, I have no idea what this is, but I am going to mark this pyramid. I don't think I've ever seen this structure before. I'm assuming it's Cataclysm? I'm trying to think what else would spawn such a thing. It's got to be Cataclysm. Desert Pyramid. It's a cursed pyramid. Oh, it's definitely Cataclysm, yeah. And ain't no way I got lucky and there's a Ditto just sitting right out front here. You know what? I'm not even going to waste any time. I'm just master balling any Ditto I see. Like, how? Why? What? I just walk outside and there's a Ditto. I'm still heading to the Woodland Mansion though. Man, I'm finding all kinds of cool stuff. There's also a Lapras. I'm pretty sure this is an ultra rare or rare spawn, and I'm not letting this one go. I do want to try and catch this. Can we get it? Oh, of course not. You know what? I'm just going to Master Ball it. For situations like this, oh, maybe I do have to go into combat before it dies. I think I almost killed it. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I am going to Master Ball this one. I really love Lapras. I mean, look at this guy. What's he doing? And there we go. So I now have Lapras. Oh my goodness. Also a shiny milk tank. I just walked up on this thing. Mine. This has been a wild day so far. Like, we created a shiny farm. I'm going after Dittos, and I'm just catching all kinds of cool things. After that long journey and very lucky, I feel like I've been too lucky that I'm not going to find any Ditto here, but Ditto should spawn inside of here more commonly. However, I am going to have to go through this and take these guys out, which, I mean, shouldn't be that difficult at all. And I'm not worried about getting more of these guys because I know exactly where to find them in the other. But while I'm in here, something that I want to do, make sure this is set to Ditto on the species, the Poke Finder, and just having it in my offhand so I can see when a Ditto does potentially spawn. I heard that the chicken jockey scene was filmed here, on location, by the way. Now, I'm unsure if this is going to help increase the spawning chance, but I am just going to go ahead and get rid of all of the carpet that's in here because mobs probably won't spawn on this. And along the way, is that a Galarian Meowth? Like, yeah, I'll take that. Now, another huge problem with Ditto is it could potentially spawn in transformed, and so I wouldn't even know it's transformed unless I go into combat with it. Something else I'm going to try is a spawn platform that is above, but if we are going to get Ditto to spawn, we do need to make sure to have a cap. So I'm up 256 blocks in the air, give or take. Already Mon are spawning on here, which is good, but what I want is I want to paste another layer to make sure it has a roof on it, essentially. So I can do this by moving this over, raising this up till we have like some sort of sustainable roof, hit confirm, and then paste that in, and then probably carpet or slab the top. So far, not had a whole lot of luck, but I am finding a lot of other Mons, like there's an Appleton, for example, or Applin, that is. Now, according to some prior rules, I am using some Poke Snacks, and I went 8 blocks out from it and 8 blocks to the side, and made sure that there was a pillar down if you are doing a skybox, and I did manage to get Cast Form to spawn. Still not Ditto, but I do need Ditto. Oh my goodness. And a Ditto did spawn, by the way. And by the way, on these snacks, what I am using is I'm using a notch apple. I'm also using a palm berry and also a starf berry. And you know what? It doesn't really seem like maybe there needs to be anything underneath because it is still spawning. That could also be because there's a solid pillar right here. But yeah, it is still spawning the Mons. I literally just got my last Ditto and Turtwig spawned. Very nice. Now back at Rocket Labs, what we can do is we can hand over an item to all of these new Dittos that we just found. Now here at Rocket Labs, I now have to just decide what Mons do I really want to focus on being shiny. We can do 6 at a time. This is going to take a lot of time, I think, because just in the time that I've been doing this, all of our EVs, have just built up and none of them have been shiny. But that makes sense because it is essentially 1 in 1,000 at its current rate. After a little bit of thinking, I definitely want Charizard. I'm unsure how this works with Charizard flying. I also would like a shiny Salamence if at all possible. And definitely a shiny Melodic would be really cool. And also a shiny Turtwig would be really cool. And possibly even a Lucario, as we haven't really played too much with our fighting type Mons. Now, something interesting that I have recently learned, Pokemon, for example, like this, like Riolu, unfortunately is considered like a baby Mon, so is actually not breedable with Ditto. However, Lucario is, so if you do have a Lucario, you can still do this, it's just gonna be much slower. So this may be one of those Mons that is not gonna be super easy to get a shiny form in this, unless you have Lucario, which I believe evolves from friendship. Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. So I think here instead, I'm going to go with Beldum. I think this is going to be a good shiny. I'm also starting to think that like Beldum also can't breed, even though it doesn't have a gender in the games. Typically you can breed with a Ditto. But yeah, I guess not in this case. So you know what? How about we just work on potentially getting a Trico? I think that would be a good idea too. And with all of this work, our eggs are definitely building up behind us. And there is going to be some need for some tick acceleration, as I can definitely see that is going to be the case. While these do produce 3 times faster than they normally would if they were in world or in your inventory, it's not going to be enough. Otherwise, we are going to need a ton more of these. Now, I'm going to say this has been a lot of fun. Going from proof of concept to actually getting it up and running, this is really neat. And I can't wait to see my first shiny from it. Because even though I spent all of this time working on it, I still have yet to get one. And that's because, well, that chance is very low. And while we're working on other projects, hopefully we'll be able to get at least one of any of these that are running. If not, then, well, I mean, all of this work for naught. So I think getting into some just dire things, maybe next episode, will definitely make this go a whole lot faster for us. And we may have the potential of diving into some other mods very soon that could just permanently accelerate this for us. But that, my friends, will have to wait for another episode. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And well, give this video, guys, a huge thumbs up. And with that being said, it's now time for me to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to LPDG Strato. I think I said that right. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting my content. And honestly, one of the best ways possible. Thank you so very much. And guys, I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.